Welcome back. The Iranian regime has reportedly told the Biden administration it's not going to try to murder President-elect Trump this less than a month out from the election. That's according to the Wall Street Journal, shares common ownership with us here at Fox News. The feds say that Iran was plotting to kill the president-elect back in September, a plan they had been working on literally for years. They say the accused would-be hitman is still on the loose. He's believed to be living inside Iran. Let's bring in former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. He is also President-elect Trump's nominee for ambassador to Israel, perhaps one of the most important diplomatic posts around this year. Governor, congratulations to you. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jillian. Great to be here. Appreciate it.
I was going to say to you and our viewers at home that if you believe the Iranian regime is no longer going to try to assassinate the incoming president, the other great news today is that my 3-year-old daughter also says that she's not going to throw her spaghetti on the floor anymore.
And you know that's not true.
I mean, there's no world in which anything an Iranian official says is credible, but there is perhaps something to the sense that they are going to maybe hold back or reconsider their strategic options in the wake of President Trump's victory.
Yeah, and they're smart to do that because they remember that under Donald Trump's administration, the maximum pressure that the president applied just doggone near bankrupted them. And had the Biden administration not come in and reverse those policies, they might have already been overthrown by their own people because of the economic collapse of their system. They were unable to get money. They were struggling. Trump didn't have to bomb them. He was bankrupting them. And that's more effective because that could actually lead to an overthrow of the mullahs, which has been an oppressive government for these wonderful people who are great folks. They've been under this oppression for 45 years. So it really, I think, speaks to the fact that they know that their days of getting to do whatever they want to do and the Biden administration looking the other way, those days are gone. When Trump comes in, it's a different kind of world, and they remember what they were under in his previous administration.
So interestingly, with my other cap on, I cover the State Department, and we learned last month that President Biden had instructed his sort of national security officials that if there is evidence that emerges of not just an Iranian assassination plot against the incoming president, but an actual attempt made, he will view that officially as an act of war, meaning the United States would reciprocate with some kind of kinetic military action. The two countries, Iran and the U.S., would officially be in a state of war. Do you think if and when evidence emerges that the Iranians continue with these assassination plots, not just against Republican officials, but against Democratic officials too, that President Trump may adopt a similar stance in his second term?
I wouldn't try to speak for the president on what he might do, but I do know this, that the nations of the world who are bad actors, they're not excited about him coming back into the Oval Office because they know from the previous experience, he doesn't play around. Syria found that out when he just put a bunch of bunker bombs on their runway and quietly left a dinner with Xi Jinping and came back and said, oh, by the way, I had to hold my dessert for a minute while I went and authorized the bombing of those airfields where a lot of terrorists were. Those are the kind of things that cause world leaders to realize that the United States is going to show its strength, which is exactly the best way to stop things that are so nefarious. What I hope people would remember is that when the Iranians have money, they don't spend it to help their people. They spend it to fund things like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, and they murder innocent civilians, and they try to destroy Israel and kill Jews. So let's hope that they kind of maybe get the impression that those activities don't pan out well for them if Donald Trump's in the White House.
How would you, when you come into your new role, I hate to be a downer, but there's a lot for you to lose sleep over. How do you think about when you're coming into your first day in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem? What is your primary goal?
Well, of course, as an ambassador, I first have to get confirmed with the Senate, and I have to get there. That hadn't happened yet, so I want to be a little careful about trying to predict what I'm going to feel like or do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the main thing is to carry out the policies of the only person who got elected this month, and that's Donald Trump. Now, those policies, I'm kind of, I guess, confident they're going to be similar, if not identical, to the policies that he was in his first term. And those policies were effective. The way that I can best serve my country and my president is going to be to try to ensure that those policies are once again not only carried out, but communicated very clearly to people who might think that they can get away with literal murder. And under President Trump, they won't.
I think that's an excellent point. Half of the work is policy. As a former government person, half the work of foreign policy is the policy. The other half is how you communicate it to everybody that needs to know.
Yeah.
So, well, we wish you all the best. Thank you for taking time with us, and congratulations again on your nomination.
I appreciate it, Jillian, and I hope your 3-year-old quits throwing spaghetti, because we've all been there, and it's just not the joy, that's for sure.
You appreciate it. Thanks, Governor.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.